Ready. Hi, welcome to our next demo video. Today we are going to be doing chicken pot pie with the chicken that you fabricated. You're going to be using some of that chicken breast, and you're going to be using your frozen peas and carrots, your onion, some of your flour you're going to need. Have your pie crust made ahead of time. I'm not going to spend a lot of time going through how to do the pie crust because I know that's something you guys have done before. So chicken pot pie is one of those really soul-filling foods, a comfort food, and it's delicious, quick, has so many adaptations. You really don't need a recipe for it, but let's get down to it. So the first thing is I have my mise en place ready. I'm using fresh carrots just because that's what I have on hand. I'm using celery and onion. That trio right there is called your mirepoix, if you remember that. I've got my my potatoes already diced. I've got my chicken there ready to go. I'm actually going to add some mushrooms to mine because I need to use them up. I've got a little flour to thicken my sauce. I've got some heavy cream, though you can use milk. And then I actually have my huge vat of stock that I'm going to ladle out some of that when I make my sauce for this. I also have thyme and salt and pepper. And I've got this big skillet that I'm gonna start cooking on. So in my pan, I have a combination of some oil and butter, and I'm gonna add my onions, my celery, and my carrot, which is my mirepoix. And I'm going to let those cook down until they're soft. So I'm going to go slowly right now. I have my oven on medium, or my stove on medium heat, and I'm going to keep it there and let it cook slowly so it doesn't get brown. We want these veggies to soften up. Okay, I have added my salt and pepper, and I've also added the thyme. If you don't have thyme at home, dried thyme, you can use parsley, sage, rosemary, thyme. Those are all good herbs to use. You want to have really earthy herbs. You don't want to use anything like a cumin or chili flake. It doesn't go with the flavors that we're doing. So, like I said, I use thyme. I'm going to let this go because they're still pretty hard. But we've been going about 5 minutes or so. Come back in about 5 more. All right, we've been going about at least 10 minutes, and my carrots are just about fork tender, not super soft. And I've added my potatoes and my mushrooms. At this point, you guys can add your potatoes. You have a red potato, and so you don't need to peel that. The skin is really nice and soft, and so you can actually leave it unpeeled. So I'm going to do the same thing, let this cook down. Okay, the last piece that I add are my peas, and you really just want to slowly fold those in. Peas are pretty gentle, and you don't want them to break apart, and they are going to cook really quickly. So your filling is actually going to be mostly cooked by the time you put it in the oven and in your pie crust. You're just going to be cooking your pie crust. So these guys look pretty good. Before we toss the chicken in, I'm going to show you the next one. All right, so this is about 1.5 cups of flour, and you can follow your recipe. What you're going to do now is you're creating a roux. The butter or the fat is already in there for you, and it's pretty coated. And then you're just going to sprinkle this on top of your vegetables, and it's what's going to actually create your sauce to be nice and thick. Notice I haven't added my chicken yet. That's because I'm going to actually pull some of mine aside, and I'm going to make a vegetarian pot pie for a friend. So you want to get your veggies nice and coated in the flour. Here, I have an enormous amount, so I'm making for a lot of people. And then once they're nicely coated, we're going to slowly add some of our stock. And that's over here. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna strain it, and I'm gonna have a good amount of stock. And we're not making a soup, so we're not gonna use as much as we typically would, but we're gonna use about 1.5 cups to 2 cups. Okay, I'm gonna slowly add my stock because, again, you're not making a soup. You're really just making a sauce for your chicken pot pie because you don't want everything to fall out. So if you can get in here, get a good shot in here, and you can see how the flour is starting to create this sauce right here. So before you over add your liquid, you just want to make sure that you're kind of creating this paste that all your veggies are nicely coated in. And I'm going to add a little bit more. And the flour is combining with the stock and the butter, and it's going to make this nice filling. And you can see it's kind of creating this paste. This is where if you wanted yours to be a little thinner, you can add a little more stock to it. We're going to finish it with milk or cream, and so that's going to add a little more liquid to it also. But again, I don't like my chicken pot pies to be super runny, so because I like the crust, I like the filling to fill up with the crust. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing here with my cream. Again, I'm going to eyeball it, but I'm going to add, that's going to be about 1/2 cup. And then I'm going to see where my filling is with that. What I always do at this point, because like I said, it's not an exact recipe, it's just something that you can make a filling with what you have on hand. But look at how nice and thick this is. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to taste it for flavor and make sure that it has enough salt and pepper. And then I'm going to pull out a little bit for my vegetarian. Needs a little salt. I'm going to pull out some for my vegetarian, and then I'm going to slowly fold in my chicken. Okay, I'm taking my chicken and I'm actually just using 2 forks. I'm going to shred that apart, and then I'm going to add it to my, at this point I have the heat turned off too, but I'm going to add this into my veggies. And it is called chicken pot pie, so I'm using a good amount of chicken. You use what you have. Again, I'm making an enormous amount because it's for a lot of people, but you're going to use what you have. When you get to this point, if you notice that your sauce is not covering all your chicken, one thing you can do, just add a little more chicken stock. It's just going to enhance the flavor anyway. There you go. All right, we're ready for the crust. You were probably wondering how I was gonna. Hi, Avery. That's my niece. Hey. You guys always like to see. There always has to be some special guest. It's Sophia. It's Avery. Anyhow, you're probably wondering how I'm going to put all of that filling into a pie. I'm not, because I have way too much. You will have just enough. And so what you can do is with your pie crust, you can split it in half, and you can save 1/2 for the bottom and 1/2 for the top. Make sure to reserve a little bit for your baked apple little hand pie that you're gonna do. So I'm gonna pull this aside right now, and I'm just gonna get to rolling out my crust. It's already been in the fridge. Like I said, I know you guys have done this before, and I know you've rolled out a pie crust. I know you've rolled out cookie dough, so you don't need to watch me do this. But I'm gonna make it so that it's big enough to fit this. And look, here's my little vegetarian one right there. Isn't that gonna be cute when I put the crust on top? All right, be right back. Okay. All right, you can see that I took some of the pie crust and I rolled it out and put it on top of this one. This is my little veggie one. And then what I've done here with this one is, because it's gonna be rustic and only be the top, I don't really care that the edges are not perfect, but I've rolled it onto my cutting pin, rolling pin. And I'm gonna slowly unroll it. And then, like I said, it's kind of ugly, but I don't care because it's rustic. And I'm just gonna go ahead and trim my edges, kind of patch in over here where it needs it, and then just seal it around the edges, just like you would a regular pie crust. Okay, here we go. I know Chef Hernandez is probably just like rolling her eyes at me, but like I said, it's rustic. So ignore the top part, but look how pretty the crust is. And there's my little one, and it looks cuter. I'm gonna pop these in the oven at 400 for about 20 minutes until the top gets golden brown. And on some of these places right here, you'll see the filling kind of bubble up, and then you'll know that it's ready to go. But remember, your filling is already cooked, so really the only thing you're doing is waiting for the crust to get nice and golden brown.
Couple inches.